Hello, Cardstack community. This is Chrissy, the founding director of the Cardstack Project, coming to you from the land of the Web3. I have a lot of new people reaching out to me this week. Welcome to the Cardstack community, both on Telegram, Twitter, and other social media channel. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this amazing new world. We're looking at how we can bring new decentralized technology to compete with the centralized superpower of Silicon Valley. And the way we're going to do it is to have an ambitious roadmap that ties together many pieces of innovation that's already happened in the decentralized web space, in the Ethereum space, in the various types of protocol innovation that's going around the world. And today I'm going to take this opportunity to give you guys a context set from a couple of perspectives. One of which is to look at this from a market point of view. What is the Cardstack project? What are we aiming to accomplish? What is the addressable market that our solutions and the tool set can enable? The second, we're going to talk a little bit about the strategy we've taken. Why are we not just another DeFi project or just another blockchain project? We saw this opportunity to build a layer, an interface layer, an experience layer on top of all these tools to make it much easier, not only for the current generation of people who are already familiar with MetaMask and blockchain nodes, but for the user who are now being somewhat dissatisfied with the state of the world of the tool they use every day, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever it might be. So we are taking a different strategy. We'll walk you through that. And finally, we have a lot of requests for what is your roadmap. And then again, we have a lot of pieces to a roadmap. So I'm going to give you a layout of thinking about who are the addressable audience and how the different pieces of technology, some of which with the community members that has been with us for a long time, you have seen them in our community updates on Telegram channel and also from our blog post. I want to put that into a map so you guys can have a mental model of what we're working on in the many facets of activity that we're working on right now. So let's jump right in. So we're going to talk in quick succession. We're going to talk about the market of Cardstack and the strategy of which we're going to attack this particular opportunity and imperative, and then the roadmap of the pieces of technology and design we're going to use to make this happen. So if you're going to take away one thing from this talk, is that we're going to be building the interface for the next decade. Notice we're talking about interface, so this is the way the people interact and join and participate not only with the protocol but with each other through the protocols and the wallets and the tools and the apps that you're going to do. So we're going to take a look at that in a second. So what do you mean by interface for next decade? Well, the best way to think about it is to look at what is the interfaces of the previous 2 decades. So in the 2000s, we are in the tech 1.0 era. So that's PCs and Macs. And then the business is mass market. Big box retailers and the beginning of online commerce. And then culture is stars, right? Social media stars didn't come. It was TV star, it was movie stars, it was pop stars. And that is what defined our areas, mass consumption. In the 2010s, the decade that was just behind us, we saw the emergence in tech of the platform. We're talking about the Apple, the Google, the Androids, the Facebook, and that defines the centralized platform of which we find each other and interact. And then for the sharing economy, and this is Business 2.0, there's actually a magazine called Business 2.0. It's about this idea of internet-enabled sharing, whether it's Uber, Lyft, WeWork, where we use the power of the internet to bring people together and transact. Now, with that being said, these entities are centralized. They are a marketplace that is funded by Silicon Valley VCs, funded by this amazing capital formation of venture capital, but at the end of the day, owned by a private company or 2 or 3. And meanwhile, when we have this centralized platform, we emerge this idea of influencers. These are users, right? Just like anybody who signed up for a Twitter account or TikTok account or Twitter account, they were able to find their way into a position of influence. They amass millions of followers and learn the native forms that they can express so well. And a lot of stars across platform, but the best one really harness either the algorithm or the format of the particular type of vertical videos or a long form live stream. And so we're in a world where this layer of platform era sharing economy and age of influencers are becoming like at the end of that era. Like we're already seeing complaints about people being demonetized by YouTubers and whatever it might be. So what is coming next on that? And that's what we are aiming to do. What is coming into 2020 is an upgrade, a version upgrade in the tech that we use, in the business model we pursue, and the way, the culture, not on the way that it can take advantage of, but also define it. And that's the amazing thing about culture. We're going to talk about that in a second. So the first thing is Tech 3.0. What does that mean? That means that the protocols, starting with Bitcoin and then followed by Ethereum, these new decentralized protocol that is not owned by a single company, are now defining with the possibility space what we can build with technology. And with that capability, we have Business 3.0, this idea of cooperation of different parties, where it's starting with Bitcoin, with miners, kind of working together in a Byzantine general gameplay, where the end result is that even people you don't trust are working towards something cooperatively in a game sense, where the outcome of the game is greater than each person's private gain, but we gain when everybody is working together for the common good. And that's what's happening now. And obviously that all have extended into new ideas about ownership and being able to have a stake in not only something you believe in and maybe someone you believe in. And that's what we brought to our Culture 3.0, the age of the creator, age of the influencer who have grew up within this platform, benefited from the algorithm, benefiting from the access to the audience. And they were able to then say, hey, I am more than just a person, a user, a hashtag or a particular username within this platform. I am an entrepreneur. I'm someone who's going to be able to take the value I've co-created with my audience, my follower, and build something together. And they want to do that already. But here's the amazing thing. These Tech 3.0, Business 3.0 and Culture 3.0 is actually one thing. If we bring all those techniques together, we're able to build something way greater than just looking at each one of those things and in isolation. So, in a way, Cardstack is building the foundation where the tech, the business, the culture can iterate together. So we do it on the tech side by providing a competitive, complete, composable software stack on open source technology, but we're building it so that you can actually substitute a Facebook, a Substack, a Patreon, or whatever it might be. These are tools that is built from the JavaScript and the web technology and the mobile technology that exist in the, I would say, the exhaust of the open source contribution from the big company, and we can take those kind of material, those side effects, and rebundle together something that we're actually competing poetically with the big company that are using open source to recruit, but we're actually using open source to compete. From a business point of view, we want to make sure that we can drive cooperative value creation. So not only to bring new type of economy, but to substitute the next thing. So the idea is, can you build a decentralized Uber? Can Uber be owned by the community and not owned by a single company or the shareholders? And finally, Culture 3.0, empowering creators to stay in control of the work so that they can use open tools to create the thing and then not just be a user, they actually own and co-create, especially if they partner with developers and designers, the platform that they're going to build for themselves in the future. Now that's a lot. And one way to simplify it, and this is for the people who are familiar with the Ethereum space and all the new innovation, a shorthand for that is that the Tech 3.0 is really about the Web3 technology. Obviously, not just about Ethereum, but multi-chain, tapping to different types of protocol. Business 3.0 is about decentralized autonomous organization, or DAOs, coming back again now in terms of this community project, and obviously DeFi providing a new financial tool sets and services that's much more composable and flexible. And on the culture side, especially this last couple of weeks, really exciting to see people experimenting and discovering NFT. I've been personally worked on an NFT project called Monograph in 2015, so I'm very familiar with the digital art aspects of it. But what's most exciting is that this fungible and non-fungible token, or some of these community tokens, end up becoming a composable Lego blocks that when combined with Web3 and DAO and DeFi really coming together. So a lot of our roadmap will be talking about how Cardstack as an interface layer bring these things together. Okay, so the Cardstack ecosystem at the end of the day is a virtuous cycle. So we have 4 type of participants that come together. Obviously, we need people who are users and customer using Cardstack to create, to launch, to transact. Right? We need teams and organization, people who are building either existing businesses that uses Cardstack or new businesses, new type of organization that's only possible with the Cardstack. They will launch and transact. Vendors and providers, who are people who are providing either web hosting or onboarding or a fiat on-ramp, off-ramp comes together and make this experience much smoother so that everybody don't have to run their own nodes. There are actually service provider that makes it easier and they can help with the transact. And then we want to have that transaction, that idea reward development designers who came up with these tools, the software tools. And then when they tools are used to conduct and build new economies, they get a royalty of sorts of what that happens. So these are the kind of arrows that goes on to our network and provide this virtuous cycle where once the tools are built, the users and customers use those tools to create more content and data. And then with teams, they launch new spaces and workflow. And with those spaces on top of that, you transact to create more spending and revenue. And with the revenue, we can reward as a percentage or as a community growth, the tools necessary to reward users and vendors, and then they can use that as new capital, new permission, new excitement to build more tools. And this is a virtuous cycle that hopefully never ends. So to do that, we combine both cloud and blockchain tech. So this is not purely a blockchain project, and then we tap into a lot of the tools from the best press, big tech platform like Famga, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have given a lot of tools that is proven, but they also have a lot of business models and structure that is broken. So we want to reuse the proven tools like JavaScript database and public cloud, and we want to rethink what is broken. We'll talk about it in a second. From decentralized network, we want to pair that together using Cardstack as a unified runtime to bring it together. We want to integrate what's growing. I think this idea of stablecoin, it makes it much easier for people to understand what's going on into crypto. So if things are in USD, it's just much more easy to reason about what you're doing. And you can see those success coming on with NBA Top Shot. Even though it's a blockchain project, talking about NFT, but they're reportraying it as just a very interesting, very simple to understand collectible cards market for basketball memorabilia transacting USD. So we want to tap into that excitement. And then obviously the DeFi liquidity and the type of community outreach through chat is something we'll talk about in a second. However, the blockchain doesn't have everything we need, so we need to invent what's missing. And it's certainly not easy today outside of these fiat-based platform like Top Shot, NBA Top Shot, where we want to make it easier for people to pay. Because without customer payment, you do not have the source of fuel to allow actual enrichment and substitution of the transaction is currently going on in the centralized platforms. And that drives broad usage, and obviously with blockchain, you want to make sure that the people who are coming to you and helping you grow, especially early on, are fairly rewarded and they become evangelists and ambassadors to bring more people in. We want to tap into that energy. Okay, let's go in to talk about each one of these things. So, reuse what's proven. So this is the beginning of the roadmap. So what you see on the top is the thing we talked about before. We're reusing JavaScript you already know to put those data in database you control, so that you can host that combined application in your data to a public cloud you can choose. And if you want to change the cloud, let's say the vendor is doing something or blocking certain things, you can take your data, take your code, and deploy it somewhere else. So this is what we're doing on top. On the bottom, these are some of the jargons that we talk about in our weekly update, which is what are we doing? What are we building to bring those capability of JavaScript database and public cloud together? So the first thing, and you can see this numbering and they're kind of in a legend in the final roadmap, you can trace it back to how that ties our strategy. The voxel design system we talk about a lot is a design system that allows us to take all the components that we believe is necessary to build the interface to the next decade. and break it down to its little minute pieces, from a text field to a calendar control to a workflow module to a payment orchestration. All of those things are part of this design system that can be composed together, not only by our developers and designers, but by the community development designers. So if you build a new card, a new capability, it fits very nicely with the whole design system. And the way we do that under the hood is that we build a Catalog.js build system, which allows each of these components that's built by developer in JavaScript to compose together. So we can pull information from existing repository, whether it's in GitHub, where a lot of open source development happens, or in NPM, which is the kind of the app store for developer for the JavaScript ecosystem. Combining those together and allowing those to be assembled not only by a developer when they're trying to make an app and ship it, but also in runtime. So if you encounter a feature, let's say you're using Cardstack Workflow and someone say, hey, I want you to buy this patent license from me. Or I've never seen a patent license application card. We will actually install it or instantiate in your browser on your mobile device in runtime, using the catalog as a just-in-time inventory of everything that exists. And once we bring those things together, we have this idea of a hub, which is the server you connect to. Think about that as like your VPN node for the people who use VPN. You connect to one VPN node that you trust, you've selected in the jurisdiction where you have a presence. And then from that point on, you can reach out to different places and different websites. Same thing, the Cardstack Hub do a little bit more than a VPN node. It connects you and allows you to plug into different realms. So, from this hub, I'm going to connect to the Ethereum blockchain. From this hub, I'm going to connect to Filecoin IPFS. From this hub, I'm going to connect to a wallet. From this hub, I'm going to connect to a liquidity pool that could be on a layer 2 platform, something that's not just limited to what your particular wallet or browser can do, but the hub acts as a type of orchestration or service bus for those who work on enterprise software to bring that all together. The goal of the hub is so that you don't see the fact that there are many types of cloud and blockchain hosted in different places. That's all an abstraction. You're connecting to this one thing. And Cardstack Hub runs this instance for you, and if you ever want to say, oh, I want to move this somewhere else, you can download a configuration from this hub and then reinstantiate somewhere else, the same way you can download the configuration from a WordPress blog and then repost it on a different alternate host. So that's what we're reusing. That's proven. That's great. And, these are all technology that exists today, and we're just finding new ways to use them. But here's what's broken about the cloud today. If you were to log into the cloud, what you're going to realize that there's going to be too many platforms, right? When you go and log into 10 different websites or go to 4 different social networks just to be able to figure out who you need to contact and which network you connected to them. So no more platform silos. We want to bring these card-based user interface where it's built on top of the Voxel design system, where you can mix and match features and workflow within one environment that you own, that you control, open source tool that you run on your hub. And then from that point on, all these applications, whether it's payment application or form application or even NFT application, are tied together in one cohesive workflow through card-based UI. So things that's just kind of like compositional, almost like when you're in a game, combining different elements to create new elements in Minecraft, or combining different parts to create new type of roller coasters. We're trying to bring that type of game-like composition into the 2D space, maybe 2.5D if you have layers on top of that, and that is what we call card-based UI. And the second thing we want to fix is no more data lock-in. Right now, when you go and interact with a website, what you're going to get from them is a great user experience. But when you say, hey, I'm ready to, I don't want to pay anymore, I want to take my data out, it's usually either impossible or extremely difficult. And even if they give you a zip download, what are you going to do with that, right? It's just a bunch of either web pages or JSON format that most people don't know how to do. So the way we do it is that we use a Git-based storage as a backup mechanism. You can always retrieve anything from your Cardstack Hub or even from other providers using Cardstack Hub as an infrastructure. And then you can synchronize that to your computer, put in a USB stick, stick it in a drawer, and then from that point on, you're able to re-instantiate to a new hub. So no more data login through data portability. And finally, no more subscription overload. Because with this silo and the lock-in, guess what? The silos create many opportunities for subscription, but once you subscribe to 10 places, the lock-in keeps you there. It's like a roach motel. You go in, you can't come out. But with this new idea of Cardstack using this composable framework, you can pay your hub one subscription, and then the distribution of value to the designers, to the service provider, to the developers are spread and propagated. And guess what? It's going to be propagated through some sort of decentralized ledger, some sort of a blockchain-enabled network built on top of the new value system, including DeFi. So no more subscription overload. So that's the cloud side. On the blockchain side, what we can now do with this new UI is to tap into innovation that is growing. And one of the greatest growth, I think even surprised people who love cryptocurrency, is that people really like the idea of stablecoin. Coins that are backed by some sort of fiat value, usually US dollar or USD. And what we allow people to do is to pay with a type of stablecoin. So if there is a point system, and we call it the spend system, which is basically 1 USD cent per spend, similar to like a V-Bucks or Roblox kind of dollars, or like points or Microsoft Point, where you can use it as within this ecosystem to buy things. You can see the prices and pay in USD. And that really makes it easier for merchants to price, where there's pricing a subscription service. You don't want your subscription to suddenly be 10 times more expensive if the currency or the token that you're pricing in somehow go up and down volatilely, which they do. So stablecoins are a great way to see prices. Now you can pay with Bitcoin or wrap Bitcoin or whatever it might be, but it's settled much like a foreign exchange on a credit card at the time of transaction. The pricing is predictable. The second thing we want to tap into is DeFi liquidity. Now, obviously, there's growing liquidity for things that exist on the Ethereum blockchain, but we are planning to bring this liquidity to layer 2, so that for organizations that are using our payment system, which we'll have a separate talk about CardPay, the card protocol, how we can do layer 2 DeFi payments to power this network. But that type of Uniswap or even new innovation like balances and beyond, we want to be able to tap into that so that you can pay with the currency you want. And if you earn some reward token, you can convert it back to buy something at a discount from the merchant that issued that token. So kind of like redeeming miles from your airline at a greater rate than if you were to cash it out to cash and then buying another airline. But if you want to and say, hey, I have no use for that anymore, I don't want to fly that airline or go to the hotel, you can always cash it out. So this idea of tapping to these kind of Uniswap style protocol is something that we want to integrate. And finally, we believe that the best way for people to go back and forth and conduct this transaction is chat. There's a reason why we move beyond these kind of complicated interface and try to, even for a lot of crypto workflow or even some in China, a lot of business interaction that happens inside WeChat. Right? So this idea of using chat as a way to coordinate this workflow is a big part of what we're working on. And we're working on a workflow system that taps into secure private communication enabled by protocol like Matrix, which is an open source Slack protocol, to use that as the way to bring these workflow in a way that regular people that understand chat understands. But blockchain is also something that's growing really, really fast, and there are some really missing pieces. So I'm just going to read to you from some of the problem statement we heard from people. Crypto is too hard and expensive to use for everyday transaction. I agree. Spending $80 in gas fee to pay someone $15 is a non-starter. So we have to make sure that we can provide not only frictionless payment, so not like unlock and then send, that's not frictionless in ERC20, but it's possible. If we use layer 2, we bring that Visa-like experience. I won't bore you with the detail. You can learn more about that when we talk about CardPay and card protocol. But the idea here is that layer 2 is a solution for frictionless payment. To make layer 2 usable requires a lot more thinking, and that's what we've been working on at Cardstack with the card protocol to orchestrate a layer 2 oriented wallet that's optimized for payments, similar to like Square Cash App or like even WeChat in China. There are certain applications that's not oriented toward investment, but but oriented towards easy payment. We have done that. Grassroots participation. So I want to get involved, but got turned off by the crypto jargon. I know if we want to bring more people, not only people who have spent 3 weeks, 3 months, or even 3 years in some cases learn about crypto, we got to get those jargon out. But one of the amazing things is, there's idea that what is really trading tokens or buying NFTs or being involved in DAO is just a membership of some sort. You feel connected to the organization, the other members. And we want to make sure that we use terminologies and languages that encourage usage and loyalty. And that doesn't matter if what's a badge is a badge, an NFT, can you trade a status you've earned? These are all questions to be answered later. But the idea here is that there's tremendous amount of reuse of learning from loyalty program and game mechanics in these kind of RPG games. But we got to invent a way that actually allow people to participate in meaningfully. And then also getting spare rewards. So people already have so much, get all new rewards. And that's some sort of the problem with DeFi, right? The people who have ETH or have tokens are much more able to benefit from trading, even if it's very expensive, it requires a large denomination. We want to distribute reward to people who are adding value. To a creator coming onto crypto for the first time, bringing their 1 million followers, what are they gonna get? What is the reward for them? The first person who bought something from the creator, what do we give them for enabling this new idea? So this idea of rewards go beyond just trading and liquidity. You know, if we give reward based on how much capital someone has or how many tokens they have, it's always going to make it even more unequal. We want to calculate reward based on activity, what you're actually doing that's valuable. Okay. So that's what we need to invent. And these are the things that you've heard about if you've been part of our community, but they don't exist today. And to bring them together requires us to work on these problems separately. And I think when people will talk about Cardstack, they look at it and say, you know, do I need to be a developer to build on Cardstack? And yes, you can be. We have a Card SDK. We're currently on version 2, working on version 3, which is a performance upgrade on top of the version 2, which we can create functionality, business logic, custom cards and layout using nothing but HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that is for developer to create new tickets. So this is a new type of maybe NFT-backed ticket system that can be scanned, and then we'll do some wallet transaction to let you in and to prove they redeem it and maybe give you some reward for showing up. But we also think it's really important for developers, non-developers, users to do this stuff via no code. And what we have done and what we have invested a lot of thinking is how can one platform, in this case Cardstack, support both the real code and no code use case. And the simple answer is that when you drag and drop something within Cardstack Builder, the Cardstack environment, bringing together, we're actually generating code for you. We're compiling your configuration into code that a developer would otherwise write. So right now what we're doing in Cardstack v3 or Card SDK v3 is the card compiler, taking these no-code configuration, all right, and actually going through a JavaScript pipeline. So it's what you have configured through these kind of UI interaction is indistinguishable and can be checked into GitHub as code that developer write, which means a developer can extend something you've configured for 15 minutes and for 2 weeks make it totally custom theme with CSS and design system upgrades. And that's really hard to do. And I'm very, very proud that this is the type of code and that exists in our open source repository and people can bring together. Okay. So the first end-to-end experience that we want people to see is this idea of workflow. So in a workflow, you're combining card-based UI that is different components and different aspects that you kind of drill down. You want to approve something, you want to buy something. Each of the item is a card within this thread. So think of a card as an attachment or a link you paste within your Slack group. And then underneath it is the hosting and the storage that stores not only the thread itself, but also the items you go back for. So this particular example is a type of exchanging like a document, an ebook document. So it's like a JSON-based document of that represent a book. You can go back and forth on that and we version it and we have version history, which is quite cool. And because cards are extensible, we are not restricted what you can put into this card, right? So right now we can start with something simple content like a Word document, but it could be like a financial model, it could be a trade, it could be a proposal, it could be agreement. As long as you use the Card SDK to build a form, a collection, an asset or layout, you can embed it or drag it or attach it into this workflow and conduct the workflow with other people. So this is kind of the roadmap. So our product market alignment is that all of the things we've talked about from the design system and the card-based UI on the top is provide this unified interface layer that sits on top of multiple different streams of usage of that same code. So if you're a user, you're just looking at workflow, chat back and forth, sending cards back and forth. If you're a customer, those cards that exist are more like value, store value. Oh, I have a prepaid balance I'm using with this merchant. Or this is a very flexible stable coin-based prepaid balance I can use with any merchant. Or have a reward card that I've earned by participating with this game. I can spend it for in-game loot or upgrades. Some of those are not monetary. So you're a community member, you look at what in your wallet as badges, things you've earned, status. I was the first 10 people that was part of this new experience. Okay, you now have a permanent record, non-transferable, right? It's not something you can do. Oh, I've earned a badge. I'm not going to part of the community anymore. Let me sell it for some opportunity to buy something else. If you are an administrator, you're trying to build a community, you want to build something for your team or for a new organization, it could be a decentralized one, you will use the Cardstack Builder to go and build this experience without coding. And if you're a developer, not only can you tap into these catalog.js, this NPM component, this pre-existing JavaScript code that other developer has built, because that's what developers do. They don't do everything from scratch. They bring these things together to create new experiences. Now you can publish your app to the card catalog. And if someone else use your cards to build their membership badge, you may get credit, and in some cases tokens for that contribution. So this idea that we have users, customers, community members, admins, and developers in our ecosystem is one of the reasons I'm so excited about the Cardstack ecosystem and our participant, because as long as we do step by step, bringing these people, growing our community, they're going to find in each other more capability, more usefulness than we can as if this was a centralized entity. We are here to coordinate this ecosystem to grow it all the time. But what does it mean for us to grow together? So for us, what we want the Cardstack brand to stand for, what we want our community member to understand when they participate, is we want to do something that is good for the world. That something is high performance, not slow. We don't want to look at something as, oh, Cardstack is cool, but it's something that is going to have to wait 20 seconds or 20 minutes for something to happen, which I think blockchain have some reputation of being somewhat slow compared to. You want to be cool, right? It has to be something that is something that makes you feel like this is the future and not something that's past. And then anything that happens in the future, we want to be able to tap it in so that it would be the first time you experience through Cardstack in context of everything you do. So a lot of what I put in here, the bullet points here, is really about making it so that we think of our orientation as fighting the big tech power so it's good for the world, to making sure that all the tools we build, whether it's on blockchain or on this open source stack, is as high performance and as iterative as the tools that startup founders and startup teams are using. The experience part, we believe that no code and this idea of drag and drop is something that people are very familiar with. You can think of Minecraft as a no-code tool, right? You can build this amazing new space without writing code. I mean, you can write a mod, but you can also use a mod. Could we bring that to the web, to the decentralized web? And finally, we don't believe that card has limits. Anything that is an app on your app store can be wrapped in a card, added to the card catalog, and allow either creators or even developers to make new things out of them. But when they want to look at this, they're going to have to say, hey, what is it for me as a customer? If you're a customer, if there's two things I want you to remember, is that this is an alternative to the SaaS and tools that you're using. So it is something that you can pay a subscription, pay it to a network, to a community, and your dollars, your tokens, your stable coins, or even your ETH is gonna propagate and enable and reward developers and designers and creators who are building on this common catalog that will substitute the Silicon Valley tools. And in return, you get the rewards, right? You have the ability to grow your membership in different ways, fungible and non-fungible. For developers, this is something that if you know JavaScript, congratulations, this is the place for you. We believe that there's so much richness in JavaScript that's impossible to replicate. If you were to use a new programming language to define the decentralized web, it would take 10 years for that language ecosystem to develop in a full way. Now, with that being said, is blockchain pluggable? We want to tap into Solidity or Ethereum. These are great tools that has already have these amazing new innovation, whether it's Uniswaps or stablecoin or Maker. We want to be able to plug in that ecosystem. We also acknowledge that we are moving to a multi-chain world. So there are new innovation, whether it's Filecoin or Arweave that's coming on, that is not restricted to one programming language. We want to use JavaScript, this kind of broad-based thing, to glue together, to bring together all the different new innovation in blockchain and beyond. So the developers that is working in the blockchain can find users and find to build user interface through JavaScript, and people who are building JavaScript can tap into the new blockchain capability without having to worry about, hey, do I need a new type of tools? No, JavaScript is the way forward, and we tap into that ecosystem and provide distribution tool for it. For crypto people who understand DeFi, I want you to know that you need new money in the DeFi. We can't just be trading the same ETH value, the same token appreciation against each other in a zero-sum game. But when people, new money, new customer pay for new product, usually in stable coin denominated because they understand it, that's just going to grow the economy, and we need that. And we also know that the existing DeFi Legos are how liquidity and how connections to existing communities are going to come from. So we are not creating new DeFi components unless we need to, but more importantly, we want to hook into ones that already have adoption, and we just want to provide sometimes an alternate interface, sometimes new customer cash into those protocols. For token holders, so for people who want to be part of this Cardstack community early and continue to grow with us, we are committed to mainstream usability. And that is a high bar. So we have to do a lot more to get one casual user or someone who has never worked in crypto, but is worth it. Because if that one person, whether it's my aunt, whether it's your cousin, whether it's someone you know that is still skeptical of the trading aspects of DeFi, but when they saw that I'm playing this game, joining this community, and it's very usable and it's just as easy as a Substack, and then you're going to get a lot more people, and you're going to delight them, and you're going to let them learn it, and then slowly they'll learn the jargon, but maybe not on day one. And finally, we'll talk more about in the future about all the ways that being a card member allows you to participate, and we use the token as a way to give you a discount, similar to a mileage program. If you have miles with an airline, you get a discount for certain buy drinks on the plane or something like that. There are also opportunity for voting. So many things that comes in it. We'll talk about in certain things. But the idea is that the token itself is a super token. It is the only way you can participate in all the different ways that you see on this slide. So as we kind of embark on the next phase of our project, a lot of the technology that you have seen and heard about is developing in a great pace, and we want to bring it together to something that can be end user usable, and starting with card pay as one of the ways to leverage layer 2 and the DeFi Lego blocks to create at least the conducting of the commerce aspect that will drive new usage and utility. But in the meantime, we will also do a bunch of marketing activity. We have done a lot of work around what a card is, how this workflow works, and I think we want to show some live peeks of these kind of developments and these screenshots. We've shared something on Twitter, I think about a few months back, where we show you what the Cardstack Workflow system. So we want to do a little bit more of these kind of live cast or recording of our own discussions. You can see what we're doing behind the scenes. We want to also know what people think the cards can do. We have a lot of ideas about what the primitives needs to be for these composable blocks. But much like Lego, the company has a lot of ideas about what kind of blocks you can buy. The creativity is on YouTube, is on the people who are master builder doing this competition. We want to see what ideas you have about what cards can be proposed in type of card. Help us understand it. Maybe we can turn it into a mini DAO, mini game, so that it can be something that is fun and worthwhile to do. And then we're also growing our ambassador program. We want people who have been with the community that understands and want to learn more to help us share their understanding and the skill sets and their know-how about not only our project, but how it relates to all the other projects, and be part of leaders and ambassadors in our community. Would love to be able to engage other neighboring communities to foster the idea that this is not a zero-sum game. This is not something that is only about, oh, if I am into Cardstack, then I'm not into this other protocol that's doing Web3 stuff. The truth is to be told is that I want this to be Cardstack to be one of the interface layer. We also obviously think that we should be the best, and we ought to be, and we can be. But the key here is that we are really fighting the tech giants of the 2.0 era to create a Web 3.0, an interface 3.0 that's going to make a real difference in people's life in the next decade. This is not something that's going to happen in 1 week or 1 month or 1 quarter of a bull run, right? We have these excitements that we need to understand that this is where we grow the community, where we grow our ambition. With that being said, this is about progression. This is about technology progressing away from the center of Silicon Valley to be a true global phenomenon coordinated by blockchain and other new technologies coming down the pike. But it must be relevant to everyday people. And that is what Cardstack is about, building the interface layer that an average person can feel comfortable that they are now a citizen, a member, a participant in this new global decentralized economy that will give them sovereignty, give them power, give them the upside, and give them the pride to have built the digital world that they live in. So thank you very much for your time today, and there will be additional talks, and we'll maybe drill down to different parts of what we've talked about today in short video that you can learn about, share about, and share with your peers. But I just want to give a kind of general introduction to new members. Welcome about what we're doing and what we will be doing for the next year and the decade ahead. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.